is also a certified guide with Phil Jones and exactly what to say. And I think you guys have, if you haven't seen her before, you've probably heard me talk about Phil Jones and exactly what to say, and all of his trainings, but she is a certified guide and she's going to be in, hold on. She's going to be in our huddles more often, but I asked her, I was like, come in and pour into our group and bring the magic. So Renee Funk, I'm going to give you, I'm going to give you screen share.
Yes,
Uh,
please.
my
Will you
dear
do
friend
that, Miss?
Renee, you have the floor.
Well, thank you, Elizabeth Riley. And I can't wait for the next time to see you. I'll be able to hug your neck. And on that topic, who else gets to do some neck hugging around here at EXPCon, right? Y'all are coming to Florida, our state. We're super excited to welcome you in Miami. I am in the Orlando area and I get to take the Brightline train down really easily tomorrow night. So I'm super fired up about that and to see you all. It's interesting that Elizabeth started off today talking about wins and there were some pauses. I love hearing Brian Copeland share a win. I love hearing Brad's team share a win and Elizabeth share a win. Here's the thing, in a lot of rooms of agents right now, there are a lot of conversations around agents having some angst, agents having some tough times, and agents having a rough few weeks or even maybe a rough 2024. The number one thing for you all to remember is you're not alone. You are not alone. You are in a tribe. You are in a group of agents who are thinking differently about the wins that will continue to cascade throughout. So I love coming to this group of agents when Elizabeth asks one of the reasons, because I know that you're showing up and you're in that camaraderie and you're linking arms and saying, yeah, okay, so what? There might be a little speed bump here, but we're going to just like push right through the speed bump and move forward. So on that, I want to check up from the neck up. What would be 3 words that you would use? Drop it into chat. 3 words you would use to describe the last 2 months in the real estate industry. 3 words to describe the last 2 months in the real estate industry. Drop it into chat if you're not driving.
Yes, ma'am.
And I know, Brad, your whole crew's on mic. You're all together. Feel free to drop it in chat, or if you want to unmic, you can do that too. Let's see where your checkup from the neck up is. How are things going? How are you feeling? Success in listing, Philip Howell. I love that. David, opportunity team growth. Yes, yes. Brad, change steady. Yeah, I would say those are 2 very accurate words to describe, right? Whole lot of change and we're steady moving forward. Russell says optimistic. Rachel says leasing. Interesting. All right, so thank you for sharing that. Remember to stay in that mode together with your fellow agents. Remember to check on your strong friends. Remember to check on strong agents, and remember to gain insight from those around you. I'm grateful to hear Elizabeth share, like, big, amazing, huge growth leader, Elizabeth Riley, huge real estate icon. Even she has had those moments where she pauses and says, well, I didn't think they'd call me. So normalize that pause where you start to second guess yourself and rather flip it and say, this is just a part of the process right now, but I'm with the best group that exists and we are continuing to navigate change, Brad Feynman, and continue to move forward. All right, with that, so let's talk a little bit about some things that are on my mind. Let me share my screen. Elizabeth said, come and share what's going on in your world, Renee Funk. Let's see. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, you're all
Got a
good.
thumbs up? Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so today I'm going to cover 3 topics. We're going to cover never following up again. I bet you're a bit like me and you do not like following up. Anyone? Join me? Can't stand following up. The good news is you never have to follow up again. We're going to talk about how and why. I will be sharing 3 questions every agent must be able to answer clearly to earn stronger relationships with buyers. And I'm also going to share today data points your sellers need right now. Elizabeth Riley, at the top of the hour, you shared something around there's a seller that maybe is in pause. Should they stay on the market? And there's uncertainty. Do they wait it out, right? A lot of sellers are in that position right now. They might be on the market. The average days on market might be escalating in your market, and sellers are asking questions like, what do I do next? Do I pull it? Do I stay on the market? Do I price adjust? What's the best next strategy? I'll be sharing data points and questions your sellers need to have more information on right now to gain clarity there. So let's kick it off. All right, a reminder I'm giving all agents, go out and just burn the boats. Burn the boats. What does that mean? Burn the boats means give yourself permission to forget everything that you thought was true in the real estate industry and say to yourself, you know what? I'm just going to go 100% back to day one, the very basics, and lean in on those basics. I prefer we don't say go back to basics as if we left them. I would like everyone to remember it's okay to burn the boats. It's okay to go all the way back and remind yourself that I'm going to double down on the basics that you're already doing and bring more clarity around those basics. On the thought of not being alone, I want to remind all of you that it's not uncommon for agents to be in the boat right now saying, I'm going to burn it. I'm going to go back to what I know the ABCs are that actually move the needle for the buyers and sellers that I'm serving. So I have a question for you. Never-ending conversation, and you never have to follow up again. When was the last time you followed up with a prospect and you received crickets? You received no response. You've previously had some interaction with this prospect. Now you're in follow-up mode and you just received crickets. You're now in chase mode. When was the last time that happened to you? Who would be bold to open your mic and share an example?
I'm in an example right now. I have an investor who was looking at a property, he loved it. It's right up his alley. And he said, hey, I need until October 15th because I'm closing on another property, blah, 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 blah. I've been, I don't use the word follow up, but I have been in the follow up mode the last 10 days.
Okay.
And I had him in my calendar instead of waiting on the 15th. The 11th was a Friday, I believe, something like that. I sent a note that just said, hey, I hope everything's in alignment for your closing. Look forward to chasing Pedernales Point. And I have got nothing from him. And he's usually pretty responsive. So
Okay. I'm writing this one down. So Russell, that's Russell. I'm going to collect one additional example and we're going to take these head on as to how you never have to follow up again. Because Russell, I like that you're not using the word follow up. Agents shouldn't follow up. We should be positioning ourselves that we never leave the conversation without the next commitment, right? So we're going to tackle that exact scenario. Who additionally followed up, received crickets, where otherwise you were in communication previously?
I'll share mine.
Yes, go ahead, Lauren. Is it Lauren?
Yeah, it's Lauren.
Okay, great.
So I actually had a client that was under contract, and during the underwriting process, there was an issue that came up. So we ended up having to, I fought to try to see if there was a way we can overcome it, but unfortunately there wasn't. So we had to cancel that transaction. Told him to stay positive, gave him some action items, and then followed up here and there, and eventually started hearing crickets. So then my next tactic was to send him something that was on the market, and nothing. So I'm just kind of just keeping him in my email list at this point.
Okay, so Lauren, Russell, you're not alone. This happens often to agents, and the good news is we have a fix, right? So let's tackle Russell first. You have an investor that you've been in communication with. The investor says to you, Russell, hey, listen, yeah, I'm going to hop in the market again. I have a closing coming up though, but I'm probably not going to be ready to have a conversation until after the October 15th. Do I have that right, Russell?
Well, we actually viewed the property and everything. Like, he loved it.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, there was a buying signal, buying sign.
Okay. And yet he didn't. And he gave
Correct.
us some indication he wants to revisit it after October 15th, and now we're on October 25th. All right, so let's tackle this. When we're stopping the bad habit of following up, we have to give ourselves the cue for, in every communication, there's always an opportunity to set the next appointment. I call appointments commitments, right? No consumer, whether they're a buyer, seller, a customer, or a client, if you're in an agreement, nobody wants to hear, I need to have a meeting, we need to have a discussion, we need to, right? The other side that you're wanting a commitment from likes to hear phrases like commitment, right? So, hey, when's the next time after October 15th that we could reconnect and share a conversation? So in that moment, Russell, what was the way that you could gain that next commitment from the investor to say, let's go ahead and calendar it? So it sounds like October 15th and that upcoming closing is a pivotal moment. When would be a good time after the 15th that we can reconnect and get our next strategy in play? Getting that other individual to get that connection, even if it's only 15 minutes, right? What you're doing, Russell, is you're saying, I've done this before. It's okay. You want to wait till that date. And I have a strategy that we can reset and put in place after the 15th. He might say, well, I'm not sure, maybe sometime around, the 17th or 18th, morning or afternoon. Morning. How about we reconnect 10 a.m.? Fantastic. I'll drop it on the calendar. Right?
Yeah.
Now, when that next time comes up that's on both of your calendars, Russell, you get to call the investor and say, hey, Elizabeth, as promised, I'm giving you a call. Here's the next strategies we have available to consider.
Yeah.
Right? So we're never, ever leaving that communication, that moment without the next connection. Lauren, golly, you had a client under contract, the transaction had to be canceled. And then one thing you said, Lauren, is you gave the client some action items. What was one of the action items you gave the client?
Well, in his particular situation, it was he has a full-time job and a part-time job. Both are the same type of positions in two different companies. So it's a UPS and FedEx.
Okay.
FedEx is his full-time job, but the way that they work is contract work. And
Okay.
he goes on pause for 3 months so he can work at UPS to make more money during the holiday season as a driver. That's what the
Okay.
issue was. They said that they couldn't use his part-time job as income. So I asked, so he was supposed to talk to FedEx to see if they can keep him on the books somehow. So that way he doesn't have that 3 month gap of no work. So that's what he was supposed to do. And he did do that. He said that they did approve it. And then this past holiday season that I try to check in to see if he followed through with that. But that's when I started getting crickets. So I don't know if he decided not to follow through with that. But I
So,
still kind of just touch base again with emails and text messages.
and this is, once again, we've all had it happen to us, every agent, right? You've been in a transaction, something goes south and the transaction cancels. It's not something we love as agents, it's a fact. And the consumer, the client needs to know, we've done this before, we've done this just for people just like them, and we have a plan in place. In this case, Lauren, your client had some action items to do with their job, right?
Mhm.
How long were you expecting that to take? Was it a month? Was it a week? Was it 3
No,
months?
we were gonna revisit during spring, which
And
already passed, and then summer passed, and then in summer, that is when I emailed him, hey, look at this. This is what it's in your price range. It was in your price range. And
got it. Okay. So there were some months that were going to go by before they could re-enter into the marketplace as a buyer.
Mhm.
Okay, got it. So in the moment that the client had to cancel the transaction. One of the best steps agents can do is say, go through the emotions, like make sure you're
Mhm.
affirming what they're experiencing, all of that, like empathetic piece. Like we all know that that's table stakes. We're going to do that. We don't have to talk about that. The next piece of it is for you to let them know, though, don't worry, the right home is out there for you on the right time that you're seeking. The next steps in these cases are that we sit down and have a reset to our strategy so that we can relaunch the roadmap for the next 2 to 3 months, and then have you positioned to re-enter the market in 2 to 3 months after you do ABC action items. When would be a good time for us to sit down, share a conversation, and get that reset strategy session in place? And I would caution, or I would position it as when would be a good time over the next week, right? What you'd be doing in that moment, Lauren, is you would be resetting your buyer consultation. You would just be going back to buyer consultation mode. PS, a simple swap for buyer consultation, because no one wants to sit down and have a consultation. They want to know that you have a strategic plan. Call your buyer consultations, buyer strategy sessions. So in this case, Lauren, is you already had a buyer strategy session. Goodness, golly, you already got them all the way to a contract. It went south. Now it's time for you to show them you have a plan. When something like this happens, there's a reset, refresh, launch to their roadmap and strategize on a 2 to 3 month timeline, because that's what they need. So calendar the next commitment, which is a reset meeting, and get them in place for that 2 to 3 month timeline. When you leave that next meeting, though, Lauren, also have another connection. And if it needs to be 2 months from now, schedule it for 2 months from now. Make sense?
Yeah, that does. Thanks.
There's one more never-ending conversation I want to share with you all that I'm hearing a lot in the field from agents, and I call it the end of driveway conversation. Has anyone ever heard the never-ending conversation that can happen at the end of the driveway?
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
who is that? Who is that?
Matt Camps.
Oh, hey, Matt. Well, do share, please.
A lot of times where it is conversation. How are we gonna get this house? What's it look like? What do all the terms look like? And they almost go into a full conversation on what the offer looks like. And instead of having that, I try to direct it to, hey, let's go back to office or let's go grab coffee somewhere. And then again, turning into that strategy session, because it just feels very wasteful of all these thoughts that are running through their heads. And it almost puts almost like a rejection button to the process.
Heck yeah. Matthew, you nailed it, right? End of driveway conversation. It's a critical conversation that agents often miss. There's untapped opportunity there. End of the driveway conversation can typically go in 2 ways. They're either going to say something like, hey, we're going to go back and think about it. We'll let you know. And most agents will go, okay, bye. See you later. I'll touch base. I'll follow up. We'll circle back, right? That's what a lot of agents are doing. Go think about it. And then to Matthew's point, oh goodness, now the whole situation has lost control because they're going to think about it. They're going to have questions that they decide what the answers are instead of having the professional answers provided. And there's no next step to come back together to reset on the strategy. The other thing that can happen at the end of the driveway is they might say, yeah, well, I think we might want to, we're ready to write an offer, or we're pretty sure we've narrowed it down to 2. We'll talk to you later and we'll decide, right? So I love Matthew's approach. If they've narrowed it down or they're ready to write an offer, perfect. Let's head over to Starbucks. Let's head back to the office. Let's go wherever the location is, and let's get that strategy in place together, right? So that Matthew can be present for any potential questions that arise. Here's where that end of the driveway conversation definitely goes south, and it doesn't have to. Matthew, we didn't see anything today that we liked. Actually, everything we saw is hitting somewhere in about a 4 to a 6 out of 10. We're not really ready. We are going to go back and think about a couple. There was one that maybe landed around a 7, but we're not sure. Again, most agents are going to go, bye, see you later. Okay, let me know. Rather, in that moment, an agent can say, to protect the never-ending conversation, I bet you're a bit like me and it's important for you to share a conversation to discuss everything that you saw today. You're going to go back home, share that conversation. I'm going to head back to the office. I will rerun all of the available inventory. I will check EXP exclusives because we do have pocket listings from time to time with our brokerage. And I'm going to double check any active inventory or pendings and solds that hit today while we've been out. When would be a good time over the next 24 hours for us to reconnect and get our next strategy in play? Oh yeah, hey, we could connect tonight. Like, we're gonna grab some wine and make some dinner. How about we connect at 7? Fantastic. Let's make that happen. Right? So get the next commitment. Maybe it's tonight, maybe it's tomorrow. Maybe they say, hey, we want to cool our jets. We need the weekend. Totally fine, but get that next connection. Very good. All right, moving right along. Buyers and 3 questions. So Elizabeth Riley knows I ask a lot of questions. Sometimes she picks on me. Actually, she picks on me a lot. Anybody else have Elizabeth Riley pick on them? Like, sometimes I get that whole like, oh, here she comes with the
They all love me.
questions.
They all love me. They're not going to tell you that.
Well,
They're probably
you
sick
must-
of me because I ask a lot of questions now. Thanks so much. That's Renee's fault, y'all.
yeah. I love questions. Curiosity is a superpower. So let's talk about 3 key questions every agent must be prepared to answer in order to earn deeper relationships with buyers and help buyers understand why they need you. Okay? We're going to kick this off. Question number 1. There's a lot of untapped opportunity. I'm seeing agents not clearly explain what a buyer can expect in those first few conversations when they call a buyer's agent. Y'all know August of 2024, there were perhaps one of the biggest regulation changes the real estate industry has seen in the history of our industry. Even these months later, the consumers are still confused. Heck, I think a lot of agents are still confused. And buyers are feeling a little uncertain of, well, if I call an agent, what's going to happen? Right. So I'll share with you a strategy the Fund Collection here in Orlando is utilizing. And what are we, almost 3 months in, and it's going extremely well. The data coming out in a post-NAR settlement world is so exciting. We're being very intentional. So what can a buyer expect? A buyer can expect they're going to have that first conversation. As a buyer's agent, they're going to have about a 15-minute phone call, that pre-consult, to get some lay of the land, understand some of the motivators briefly, and lead that first call into what we call a buyer strategy session. The buyer strategy session is either on Zoom or in person, period. Buyer strategy sessions are not phone calls. They are the bookend to a listing consultation, right? They're just like a listing consultation. So in that buyer strategy session, what should agents be able to explain a buyer can expect? Why would they want to meet with us, right? Not because some of the agents are saying, I won't even talk to you unless you sign this paperwork. Some of the agents are saying hello, and it feels like the paperwork for the BBA is automatically being presented. Here in Orlando, the Fund Collection is actually acquiring a number of buyers over the last couple of months who've called us to say, hey, are you going to force me to sign something? No, we're not going to force you to sign something. Can I share a conversation with you? Of course you can. Are you going to send me something to e-sign? Not today. So what we're hearing is buyers are calling agents, and other agents and other brokers are just like, hey, if you want to be a buyer, you have to compensate me for my time, and here's the paperwork. Okay. I know none of you on this call are doing that. I'm still going to remind us all. It's like dating, y'all. Date the buyers. Pause, slow down. If we don't date them, someone else will. So when we think about this question, what can a buyer expect when scheduling a strategy session with you? I'll give you some examples of what the Fund Collection is utilizing. I'll encourage you to craft this how you see fit based on you. When we talk to buyers, we're making sure they know that as a part of that buyer strategy session, there's some key goals. Number 1, it's our goal as the professional specialist to understand what their ideal home preferences are. Hint between us here as professionals on the call, we all know what the ideal home preferences are not usually what the buyers tell you, right? Because if the buyers knew all the untapped opportunity, then they probably wouldn't need us. So that's kind of an exciting thing. We lead with curiosity and we go deep into understanding what their ideal home preferences are. Second thing that is covered in a buyer strategy session is we go really, really deep on educating. Now, being a hyper-local market specialist is important. And one of the things that buyers can expect in that buyer strategy session is hyper-local market conditions relative, especially to the last 30 days. Oh, Elizabeth, recording just went off if that matters. Hyper-local market conditions relative to the last 30, 60, 90 days are critical right now. And I'll encourage you to use that benchmark of, hey, buyers, how familiar are you with the regulation change that went into effect in August of 2024 and how that can benefit your next steps in real estate, right? So you're really tying in that local market and the timeline. Number 3, for a long, long time in this market, I should rephrase that, for the last few years, right? Like, what have we known about the market? A lot of buyers had to give their firstborn their right arm. They probably submit offers with 27,000 other people. They had to get scrappy and they still were not winning the offer, right? And getting the deal. During those times, it was not uncommon for agents to put focus on the actual listings a buyer might think are appropriate. Okay, because the inventory was lower. During the buyer strategy session, focus on the community information with more of a spotlight than the listings. Okay, let me make sure I'm slowing that down for you. We're in the buyer strategy call. All we've had with this buyer is 15 minutes in a pre-consult that led to the buyer strategy session that's on Zoom or in person. Agents will tell me, what do you mean? You don't want me to show them listings? Not saying I don't want you to show them listings. What I am saying is listings is computer generated information. At the end of the day, anybody can go on right now on their phone and look at listings. You, as a differentiator being hyper local, can position yourself to show them the community information that's relative to them in their decisions so that they can see that you have that hyper local information. So think community versus property for your buyer strategy sessions. Second question agents must be able to answer as to why a buyer should work with you. What are 3 reasons a buyer should choose you? I've been hearing a lot in the industry. Anybody hear this? Is like, you know your value proposition? Am I the only one that's kind of getting tired of hearing that? Know your value proposition? Because I hear a lot of coaches, teachers, agents like, oh, you have to know your value proposition. Okay, let's take a look at that. I'm going to show you something. Taking my screen off share for a moment because I want to show you. There's some confusion in the industry right now. I'm on realtor.com and I don't mean to pick on realtor.com. It is what it is. I just thought this was quite interesting. Realtor.com is pushing out a campaign and it's talking about, of course, the benefits of working with a realtor. Nothing to see here. That's totally fine. Nothing to, balk at, right? But here's where I find it interesting. There is a movement on realtor.com that talks about 111 reasons why a buyer should hire an agent. And if you look at this page, what the page is doing is positioning the agent to say, every agent should share this list. This is public. You can go to realtor.com and find it. Every agent should share this list of 111 reasons why the buyer should work with you, meet with you, hire you. But what happens when the buyer says, I only need 3 of those 111. And if you and every agent that I meet with all says they have the same 111 things they do, what actually differentiates you, Brian Copeland? Brian Copeland, most of those 111 things, quite frankly, are table stakes. Like, that's the norm. Every agent should be doing those things. The question with the value proposition is, what, Brian Copeland, Stacy Spikes, I see you. What makes us unique specifically? Right? So throw that 111 item list out the window. Nobody needs that. That's table stakes. We know darn well, if we're professionals, we're already doing those 111 and more items. What is it specifically? Let me come back to my screen. I'm going to go a little bit deeper on that. All right. Matthew, I see your hand up. Go right ahead.
So when you're saying be specific on what our, let's say our 3 things are, would that
Yep.
be buyer specific based off what they're asking for, or is it us personally?
Can be either. What we want to lean in here is specifics, and also bonus points when those specifics are not something that can be quantifiable. I'll give you an example. I'm passionate as a team leader and a speaker to help agents gain strength in conversations, community, conversions, right? Connections. When I'm representing a buyer, could it be possible that I make sure that buyer knows that one of the benefits is going to be the best negotiations, that I'm a hyper local professional in Windermere, that my goal as the best negotiator is to save them money, put more money in their pocket. And additionally, one of the benefits of meeting with me on a buyer strategy session is it saves you time. Because I bet you're also a bit like me. You don't like scrolling all over the internet looking at information that isn't really giving you the solutions and the considerations for what is a good fit. So really dig into the specifics. What benefits do you offer that are unique, right? I would give you all a nudge to pop on that realtor.com page and look at that list of 111 items. There's even things on there like upload documents to compliance software, right? Like, that's not a differentiator. It is, the message that they're sharing is trying to make sure the public knows, like, hey, we do a lot of things. But in a 2024, 2025 world, as we're positioning ourselves to state our worth as to why they hire us, it's much more than uploading a document into SkySlope. It's much more than like, hey, setting up saved searches. No one's going to hire us for that. They're going to hire us for the uniqueness that we bring to the table. Okay, number 3, is now the best time to buy? Is now the best time to buy? Could be, right? There's 2 types of agents. There's those who send messaging all over that say, like, today's always a good time to buy, sell, or invest, right? It's not wrong, right? Totally fine. There's also agents who lead with curiosity to discover, is now the best time based on their needs? So I'm cautioning agents in this moment where the buyer, the consumer, is out there kind of saying, like, what's going on? You know, I'm calling agents and documents are being pushed over to me right away. I don't feel like they're understanding who I am. I feel like I'm trying to be sold from the jump, because a lot of buyer's agents are worried first and foremost how they're going to get paid. Instead of leaning in on the fact that we're the best negotiators, we're going to get the job done, we're going to save them time, we're going to save them money, we're going to put more money back in their pocket, we're going to help them achieve the goals they're looking for in home ownership. And oh, by the way, that compensation piece, well, that's another reason why you're hiring me, because I'm the best negotiator and I'm going to negotiate all the terms for the contract, right? Together, is now the best time to buy, sell, or invest? Well, let's share a conversation and see, based on your timeline, when is the best time? When is the best time to buy? Is a question I nudge each and every agent to consider as compared to it's always the best time. All right, seller updates. Talked about data points. I'm want to leave a couple minutes for questions, so I'm gonna buzz through this pretty rapidly. We're going to leave some time for questions. Who here on this call has a listing that you feel is currently not selling due to price? Not selling due to price. I see hands raised. Once again, we're not alone, right? Drop it into chat or open your mic. How many listings are you currently carrying that are not selling due to price?
4.
4.
3.
3. Let me see what chat's saying here. Oh. I can't get into chat right now. All right, 4, 3. So the fund collection here right now, we have 3. Our average days on market is climbing in many markets throughout Central Florida. And we're seeing a few listings that were once acquired and the market condition has since changed, right? So this next share I'm sharing with you all is critically important to get real and get the right information for the seller to make a decision. Are they staying on market? Are we poised to be able to sell it within the goal timeline that the seller is seeking? And can we move forward with or without a price adjustment? Okay. What's the number one reason sellers fire agents? Any guesses? Because sellers will fire agents.
Lack of communication and
Lack of confidence.
yeah, bingo.
Nailed it, right? Communication is key. I know there's an NAR stat, it's some ridiculously high percentage. Sellers fire agents for not feeling communicated. And then let's have some empathy to listing agents. What's one of the drivers to the fact that listing agents maybe don't communicate as strongly as they should with their sellers? What's one of the things that happens? We get a little fearful, right? We go, oh, golly, like maybe not great news. Maybe not great news. Okay, so this ties into the never-ending conversation. When we're talking about sellers, we're at that listing consultation. We've acquired the listing agreement. Congratulations, we're moving forward. We've already discussed the listing launch marketing plan. We've discussed timelines. We'll have it on the market within the next 7 to 10 days, whatever your timeline is. As a part of the next steps, sellers I serve find a value in setting up a weekly update time. Once a week for about 15 minutes, I set up a time, we block it on the calendar that you and I can get back together and go over a weekly update to what the market conditions are experiencing. All of you on this call, we are as a team arbitrarily pick, usually it's Tuesday mornings, the end of the day, the seller can choose whenever they want. If Tuesday doesn't work for them, we pick a 15-minute time block whenever they're choosing, but we try to gear it all toward the same morning, and most sellers fit right in on a Tuesday. We give them a 15-minute time block. It's calendared. So that seller knows if we're going live next Thursday, the Tuesday after, it's already on their calendar, never-ending conversation. We're meeting to have a conversation, okay? Here's what we're going to cover in that call. We're going to cover how many showings in total took place in the last 7 days. We cover how many showing requests were received, and if all of those requests were able to be honored. In Orlando, one of our primary markets are vacation home markets with renting as an Airbnb. So it's not uncommon for us here to have showing requests, but it's not able to be actually shown because there's a tenant in place for that Airbnb. So that's a data point important for us because we could have a listing on the market for 30 days, actual days on market in the MLS, and only have had access to it for 5. So that's a data point that's important. If that is relevant to your market, make sure you're sharing that. Was any feedback received from the buyer's agents? Nudge to you all. Please consider not verbally sharing the feedback. Please consider not texting it. please consider sharing it. So if you get a text message from an agent that showed the property, when you're in your weekly update with the seller, show a screenshot. If you're using showing time and you get that automatic reply from the buyer's agent that says like scale of 1 to 10, please show it. See, what's happening is sellers' emotions are elevated right now. Heck, everybody's emotions are elevated. Everybody's going through angst. And it is really easy for a seller to attach feedback to you. So Brian Copeland, if you call up the seller and say, hey, I got feedback, they don't like the house at all. They say it's overpriced and they can't stand the flooring. Guess what, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller thinks that's Brian's feedback instead of saying, hey, let's review the feedback that we received and scroll through it. Make sense? Of course, show how many open houses were hosted, how many visitors attended each open house, and how was the feedback received for the open house. Okay? Lastly, and this is a big one, we want to share with them, show them how many new comparable properties listed as active. So let's take a look at the most recent competition over the last 7 days. How many comparable listings changed from active to pending? So, hey, Mr. Seller, let's look over the last 7 days, the properties buyers chose over yours. Literally use those words. We're going to review, were there any comp listings that were sold, of course, over the last 7 days, and then double check, do an audit based on those sold prices. How does the current property pricing align with the asking price of the subject listing? Just like feedback, encouraging you all as a reminder, don't tell, show the visuals. Your updates with your sellers are most impactful on Zoom or in person. I know I'm going to repeat it again. I get it. Agents roll their eyes at me. What do you mean? I need to meet with my sellers once a week on Zoom? Well, if you want to make sure you're not fired, because it's happening, right? Carve it out, show your screen. Here's the visual. A very recent seller that we had here in Orlando, a listing was on the market for about 3.3 million. And there were some changes. We had been on the market for about 100-ish days. There was definitely some changes that took place that we needed to do a price adjustment. By showing the seller, here's the comp properties. There's 27 comparable properties active on the market, and yours is number 13. The visual aid of showing them lined up was so powerful for the seller to go, oh, okay, so I'm not at the start and I'm not at the bottom. I'm somewhere in the middle and I'm getting lost in a sea, right? And then lastly, remember to show those key comparisons week over week. All of this information that we just reviewed, now this is how it changed from the last time we shared a conversation. So key comparisons week over week, super important. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, here's the action items I've completed over the last 7 days to market the property. I've talked to 5 cooperative agents in the market who also have properties. I've contacted X number of previous customers who own in the area. The team has done circle prospecting. Go through the list, show the seller each and every week, what is it you're doing to earn that fee that they're paying for you to represent this sale. Long gone are the days that we can list on Thursday and have multiple offers on Monday for many of us. As a reminder, curiosity is a superpower. So the curious agents are for the win. I already asked you, but I'm going to give you another reminder. EXPCon, find me. Let's hang out. I want to see you all. I come in on Saturday. I'm there till Wednesday night. I can't wait to see you and give you high fives and hugs. If we're not already connected on Instagram, let's change that. Send me a DM and let's connect at EXPCon. Elizabeth Riley, are you still on this call?
I think she's driving to the airport, but she may still be with us.
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before I open it up for questions, I don't know if you even know this, Elizabeth Riley, but Monday at EXPCon, I'm on stage with Ricky Carruth and Phil Hahn and Courtney Carroll for a script battle Monday afternoon. It's a script battle, y'all. Oh my goodness. So come out, support, and let's see what happens. Cause I don't know, it's going to be interesting to see us quote unquote battle.
That is going to
It's
be a
gonna be
lot of
fun.
fun to watch. That is going to be so much fun.
Yeah, the prep call was pretty interesting. All four of us are all very different approaches. So I don't know. Elizabeth will probably be over there saying like, oh, here she comes with her questions. I'm going to have questions.
Oh, I love it. No, it's not. We learn, we take nuggets away from all those conversations. And I think there's power in not only knowing what to say, but knowing what's not authentic to you. So,
Yep.
yeah, you're all very, very different, but there's always, Renee and I always say, listen for the lessons. And those rooms, you're going to learn some awesome lessons all week long. And if you guys can't go this year, we're going to probably next Friday, we'll all talk about the takeaways and all the things. But how awesome is what Renee just shared? Was this helpful? Does it give you different confidence going into the conversations with your clients? I know it does for me.
Helpful. Yep.
The
What
standing
questions do
week,
y'all have for her?
the standing weekly follow-up meeting with listing clients is just so simple but so obvious that I bet you very few people on this call are doing. And I'm definitely going to start implementing that. That's really important.
Yeah, and Brian, it's really key to even hear you share that feedback, because here's the thing is it's been a run, guys, right? Like 2020 was a wild year, 2021 of course was wild, and then there was no escalating days on market. Let's face it, there wasn't a whole lot of marketing needed. Right? Like the actual artistry, the actual skill of listing and marketing a home to truly find buyers hasn't existed in the last 4 years. So the agents who've been around a while, right? Like I've been doing this about 11 years. I'm married to a realtor of 25 years. He's older than me. Don't tell him I said that. He's in the other room. We did weekly updates a lot for years. I remember 2014, 2015, like this was the norm, and we would never leave a listing consultation without setting that expectation of, hey, number one, we would very often sign 1-year listing agreement terms. That was the norm in Central Florida a decade ago. 1 year. So when we go back to that fact that sellers fire agents for lack of communication, period, then just nip that in the bud. Nip it in the bud. That's not me. I will have communication and show up on Tuesday. And if the answer is nothing's changed, y'all, the answer is nothing's changed. No actives, no showings, no pendings, no solds. Here's what I've done. It's crickets out there. Here's the options for next strategies. It's not wrong,
Well,
but we get fearful.
it takes out the opportunity for clients to call and ask what's going on. And that makes us all feel terrible when that happens. When they want to know, it's like, oh, I didn't.
You're being proactive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing to think about too is if we know that there's uncertainty in the market, just say it. Just say it. Here's what we're seeing. We're seeing some sellers that are experiencing this based on these terms and their timelines. We're seeing other sellers that are choosing to come off the market because some of the conditions have changed and it may not be right time for you, right? Like the win right now as a listing agent and quite frankly, as a buyer's agent is don't work in the middle. Y'all, if a seller says to you, I'm not in a hurry, run. Run. You're not looking for not in a hurry. You're looking for, you're making an investment into that seller. We're making investments into our buyers now because the buyer's agreement is just a bookend to a listing agreement. You're choosing to invest in that buyer. Now we got to date. We got to date and earn the relationship of the buyer and earn that fee that we're asking. And we have to show the seller from day one, we are worth every penny they're investing to work with us, even in markets that have some questions or some uncertainty.
It's interesting that Brian's been in the market a long, long time too. And I think those of us that have been in the business for a while, we get complacent and we get used to doing what we've done, and then we don't really adapt or adjust. Brian, what you just mentioned with the listings, the listing meetings, that actually stood out quite a bit for me as well. And I was sitting here thinking, you know, I mentioned that I fired a seller recently, and it felt really great. But then when Renee said that, I'm sitting there going, I wonder if that been different had I set up a weekly meeting like that, because I think their anxiety and their anxiety could have been avoided if I mean, I was giving them weekly updates, but not face to face, not listening to them and having a conversation. And that outcome could have probably been different if I had set something up like that. So that's a lesson learned for me and a definite takeaway this morning.
And thank you for sharing that, Elizabeth, because I really want everyone, like, normalize. Remember, burn the boats. Like, don't put pressure on yourself that you have to actually put intention and say, oh, I really have to go back to the very basics. Like, how was it done a decade ago? I need to lean in. I've been doing those basics because you're awesome and you're building business, but go back and really think of some of that like old fashioned, if I will, like bring that back. And remember that being the second agent is a huge win. As a team here in Orlando, we're also acquiring some listings from other brokerages where the call goes something like this. It's a prospective seller, and they'll go like, hey, yeah, I'm on the market. I've been on the market for 75 days, whatever it is, right? I'm just not satisfied with the current representation and I'm considering hiring a different agent. Okay, well, share with us what's transpired so far. What are you experiencing? And they'll go a little bit deeper. And this is common. We're hearing this. The only thing the agent is telling me to do is to drop the price. They have no other strategy. So we're actually acquiring listings because the seller feels that the other agent is a one-trick pony. You know how you eradicate the one-trick pony syndrome? You let them know we have a meeting once a week. That meeting is preferred on Zoom or in person. Most choose Zoom, of which I'm going to share the following data points with you so that each and every week you may feel you want to realign a little bit. We may adjust strategies, but the good news is we have a strategy whether we have a week where there's complete silence, no showings, or we have a week where there's a lot of showings, not a lot of feedback. Agents have to put the reality on the table because the seller will respect that instead of being silent. And then just like Brian, they'll call us, and some agents are just going, drop the price, just drop the price. Maybe they don't have to drop the price. Right? Maybe that agent hasn't done enough to market it yet. 2 minutes till the top of the hour. Time for one more question. Y'all are amazing. I feel selfish because y'all fill my cup. So thank you for inviting me, Elizabeth.
Well, you committed, by the way. I'm voluntolding her right now. She's voluntold. She's committed to coming in with us once a month and bringing her team as well. So there's going to be even more collaboration moving forward. So.
Well, I have an ask.
What other question? One more question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I've got I got a quick question. You're
yeah,
in
Sean,
a listing
shoot.
appointment.
Yep.
You're in a listing appointment. The seller says, I'm not in a hurry. Do you just get up and walk out? What do you tell them to get them to understand the market is not going to be kind to them?
Sure. What's their driving motivation? How important is it that they sell the home within the next 30, 60, 90 days? What does not in a hurry mean? And this is high D coming out. Like, if a seller tells me I'm not in a hurry, I have to truly understand what are they moving toward. So what is it that they're trying to accomplish? They need to get the property off their books. They need to upsize. They need room for family who visits. They need to downsize. They need to, like, what are they moving toward? I have to understand that. You have to understand that. And then you ask them, how important is it you achieve X by Y? No, really, how important is it? Right? So I'll also share with you a trap that we stepped in recently. We here in Orlando had an agent that had a number of team generated listings. that had some health issues and had to, take a silent or sidestep and need some additional support in the midst of a regulation change and a changing market. So there were some recovery phone calls that Jeff, my husband and real estate partner, and myself had to have with sellers. One of those calls was discovered that the seller said, I didn't really articulate this in the original listing consultation. I'm not in a hurry, but I think I'm not in a hurry. And we asked the question, well, you'd expressed a need to downsize. How important is it you downsize and get this property off your books by January 1 of 2025? Husband and wife looks at each other and they go, I don't know, like maybe a 6. And the wife says 3 or 4. Next question. Is this property for sale? We're displacing you. You got to take your dogs out. You got to leave every single time. Would it be helpful if we reassessed after January? We pulled this, put it into EXP exclusives and just gave yourself a pause? They said, yeah, it would be helpful. And we did, because it was what was best for them. Instead of just dragging this out and continuing to go on. So agents also, don't be afraid to hit it head on. Sometimes take the darn thing off the market. It's not doing any good. One last thing, because I'm fired up about this. Sellers don't understand the impact that it can have on their property to timestamp the MLS with on the market, off the market, long days on market, and then, oh, did they pull it? Did they get an offer? Did it go pending? Our MLSs track all that data. That can impact them even a decade from now, 5 years from now, when they might go back to the market and another buyer will say like, hey, what happened in, 2024? Why were they bouncing all over the place? Why was it on the market for 120 days and it went pending and then it came back on and it went off? That stuff sellers don't understand. It's our job to explain to them. Sometimes it's better to just come off the market and reset. All right. I'm fired up if you can't tell.
You're amazing, my friend. For those that are going to be at EXPCon, we'll see you. Come find us. For those that aren't, we'll see you at the next EXPCon. Do not miss it. Renee, thank you, y'all. This is all recorded in our group, so you can always go back and watch it and watch it and watch it. So, Renee, thank you, my friend. I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you. And my ask is this, in chat right now, there's an Instagram link. It's not mine. It's to EXP's Instagram. And this is my ask. EXP did a live where myself, Ricky Carruth, Phil Hahn, and Courtney Carroll came on to talk about our script battle. And what we're asking for is share your scenario in comments so we can bring your scenario into the script battle. Would you please go to that Instagram post and drop a comment that is a scenario you'd like to see the 4 of us hit head on at EXPCon. Thank you so, so much. Adore you. And thank you, Elizabeth Riley. You guys keep forward facing. You guys are badasses.
Thank you.
Hi,
You're
everybody.
amazing. See you guys soon. Have an amazing weekend. Bye.
I do think this